You know my controversial opinion?
You hate video games.
I don't think that Borderlands movie looks as bad as everyone's saying.
Are you excited for it?
No, but...
Are we going to go see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
You and I probably, yeah, I imagine. But, I mean...
Eli Roth is a bad director, though.
Yeah, but... No, and it's weird that everyone in the movie is old.
Yeah, to like start your cinematic universe, you know, that branch of your brand with like, oh, we're gonna cast real old.
Like, I never got the feeling in playing Borderlands that the median age was like 50, and it's strange, and it's not. Yeah. It doesn't fit with the feel because the feel is very like edgy and younger, and then it's just weird for like Jamie Lee Curtis and Cate Blanchett coming off of like Oscar-winning films to be like, Borderlands.
No, for real. Cate Blanchett is older than like Lilith ever was in the games.
Yeah,
because in like the first one, she's like what, maybe early 30s. So
I don't know.
I'm just like ballparking here. Like the original cast feels like early 30s in the first game, mid to late 30s by the second game, so maybe early 40s by the third game.
I didn't even think of it that literally. I just didn't, and maybe it's because I played them when I was like 14 or 15 or whatever. I never imagined
last month.
I never imagined myself as a 55-year-old woman going to war.
55-year-old siren. Truly, the song of the siren captivates the sailor, and it's a 50-year-old. I mean, but Kate holds up really well.
No, I'm not. It's not like about looks or anything other than just I know how old they are, and I'm like, that's strange. It looks like the video game, and so I was like, that's pretty. Like the costumes are pretty accurate, with the exception of these old ass people who look like shitty cosplayers.
My friend Mew that I've been playing Borderlands with on stream, she actually does not like the costuming. She's like, it looks cheap. They could have done like the little painted, like creases.
That would have looked like shit.
It would have looked bad, especially in motion, because she was talking about like, oh, cosplayers, like they do it really well. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, because they're posing for stationary photos.
If you ever see them in motion,
yeah, because the shading in those games work because it is a flat screen emulating 3D.
Yeah, and
not existing in a 3D space.
It wouldn't have looked good, and it would have been a nightmare to imagine painting on lines for every single person's. The movie wouldn't have gotten made. It already barely did. They
should have just thrown it through a Scanner Darkly filter.
Make my movie confusing and bad.
No, because it had that
Yeah, I know what it had. Doesn't mean it was good.
I'm not saying it was good. I'm saying it had a stylistic presence. It had a visual pop to it.
That's true. The Wachowskis really did cash in on one of the greatest movies ever made.
Did they do Scanner Darkly?
Oh yeah. Every bad movie from the early 2000s was the Wachowskis except for The Matrix. They made The Matrix and decided to make garbage for the rest of their career.
Oh, I thought you were saying that they actually didn't do The Matrix, and I thought this was going to be one of those, like, Ghost in the Shell did it first kind of a thing.
There is that with The Matrix, but it holds less water than people say. The Invisibles is a comic where people wear black leather and there's robots, and they're like, they took it all from that. And I'm like, or it's just...
It just looks cool.
They didn't invent black leather, they perfected it. So naturally, on today's episode...
Yeah, there's no good jumping off point into that. Welcome to KAFM, Kill All Film Majors. I am Duncan, and that is
John.
And today we watched
Jarhead.
Yeah.
And
Out for Justice with Steven Seagal.
And the reason we picked these movies...
Out of the crate.
Goodwill grab bag. We have a box of movies of just old shitty DVDs from secondhand thrift store. And we just grab two and watch them.
There's nothing I love more than movies I got from a bookstore. Wouldn't you like to read? No, give me the crate in the corner. Here's $20.
Silence, failed librarian. Stream the data to my eyes.
Can I put it on a tablet?
So our first movie was Jarhead. A movie I will struggle to remember. I don't know about you.
The third act had really good visuals. Every time I try to think about that movie, I think about burning oil fields.
I think about that too when I think about Iraq.
That's the point of the movie.
And aren't they in Iran?
They're somewhere.
You don't know the difference, do you?
Iran to Iraq.
What?
Look.
You draw on your palm, you start telling your fortune? Or is that where they are on a map?
Yeah.
I've set you up for failure. I don't know where they are.
They're west of Yemen, east of India.
So I hate to break it. Oh, India I know because it's shaped like a stegosaurus.
Excuse me?
India is shaped like a stegosaurus. I don't know where Yemen is, but...
You're not going to make me look this up.
If you look... Next time you're looking at a globe or a map, India is a stegosaurus turned sideways. That's... We were in elementary school, not you and I, but when I was in... We had to do something called... I don't remember what it's called. World something. Where we would have to, every month or so... It felt like far apart, but I was a child. I was like 5. So we would have to go into this room with this map and point out. They would say, where's blah, blah, blah. And like when you're a kid, it was just continents, like 5 years old. But as you got older, it got more like countries. And then eventually it was capitals and stuff like that. And I was really bad at it.
Where's North Macedonia?
That doesn't exist anymore, right?
Yeah, it does. It's north of Yemen.
Wouldn't it be in Greece?
No, Greece is in Greece.
But like Macedonia's near Greece, right?
Oh, it might be north of Greece.
Because Alexander the Great was Macedonian.
Yeah, so it's North Macedonia, and then above that is like Croatia.
Okay. So I don't know any, but anyway, I was really bad, so I had to like figure out how I could remember where things were. And once we got to capitals, I was just gone. Like I was shapes, and so India is a stegosaurus turned sideways. It's like standing. It's like its tail points down. It's got the spines on its back, and its head goes up. Like how Italy's a boot. Like everyone knows Italy's a boot. Yeah. India's a stegosaurus.
I would love to do that to a child, but without the border lines, like without the drawn-on borders.
Like you have to draw the border.
No, just it's the globe with like the topography. You know, you see mountain ranges, you see rivers, you see peaks and valleys, and it's like, all right, find.
That would be a lot of crying children. You'd be a terrible educator.
Who said I'm going in for the education?
I'm here to shape young minds into vengeful beasts.
I'm here to die when I'm 60 at the hands of 30-some angry 20-somethings.
I don't know where anything is, and now I'm going to consume you like a pack of piranhas.
I'm fighting them off.
Show me where Yemen is. Turn to Optimus Prime for a second. Sam Woodwicky, you need to find Yemen on this globe.
That's the reason I didn't do it with the borders, because borders are bullshit till all are one.
Okay, so in Jarhead, Jake Gyllenhaal,
that's who was in it.
Is it's based on a true story of a dude who went into the Marines and kind of just his honest experiences of it. From what because I looked it up. It was a book.
Based on true events, based on a memoir from... And
it was heralded by people in the military and people who have done that as kind of the most honest depiction. It wasn't hoorah, like full on join the military, but it also wasn't like absolute opposite where it's like, don't join the military, blah, blah. It was just like down the line, like, for all the pros and cons, the good and bad, what it did to my brain and my regrets and my beliefs, everything that happened. And so they liked that because, I mean, whether or not, like, regardless of his justifications or his judgments on what he did them. And so he told you what happened.
Yeah, it wasn't so much, because I feel like so many of these, and maybe that's why it didn't stick in my head super well, is it didn't feel like there was an agenda behind it. As a quote-unquote war film, a lot of war films have either, you know, whether it's World War II propaganda to be pro-war, whether it's anti-war sentiments from the Korean or the Vietnam War. It felt so earnest in... I had good days, I had bad days. I laughed, but bad things happened. Jamie Foxx was there.
He's cool.
Jamie Foxx is the best part about this movie.
And it seems like the message is, I mean, it's very clearly the overarching message is like 95%, maybe 99% of us have no idea what's going on. Like, we're just because we're in the Army or in the Marines, we don't have any more of a clue of what's going on than anyone else. And we're all just hoping someone else does.
We're in this Russian nesting doll of on a need-to-know basis, but even the person above us doesn't have all the need to know.
Yeah.
So it's not even that they have the answers. It's like, oh, I can't tell you. It's just that they also don't know. They're waiting.
And so it creates this really good disconnect and sort of mix of apathy, loss, confusion, nihilism.
Tie that with not knowing what's going on at home. There's this reoccurring theme of all these guys, they have, girlfriends or wives at home. And the main character is like, oh no, she loves me, I love her, she'll wait for me. But over the course, one guy, wife has a kid, everybody's so happy for him. Later in the movie, kind of the epilogue thing, you see they had another kid, they worked out great. Another guy, like partway through the movie, his wife sends him a sex tape of her banging another dude.
Yeah.
And so there's always this disconnect from home as well. And it's such an it creates this great isolating bubble of, being on foreign soil, waiting for a war that is probably going to happen. 95% sure it's going to happen, right? Mm. But then also the things you do know you're so far away from, they don't matter.
And so we start with Gyllenhaal going into boot camp. And he's not, because it's such an honest movie, he's not the classic American hero. He's soon to be found out a good sniper, but he's not like overwhelmingly brave. He's not overwhelmingly patriotic. He basically joined because his family did. Like his dad and his grandfather were both in that, or at least his dad, and I think they said his grandfather.
His dad and his uncle were both Vietnam, I think.
Okay.
That's what it was.
And so like he's got this family history, and so he just kind of signed up where it almost seems like that's what you do in his family, and he kind of wants to make them proud. And you don't even see them.
He wanted the free college, right? He was saying something about like there was something else too. It's like there's benefits,
Yeah.
All I got to do is sign this piece of paper, and I get benefits after blank amount of service.
And so there's that, and then I'm just talking about when like Jamie Foxx is yelling at him or something. Someone's talking to him. The drill instructor is asking like, "Aren't you so and so's boy? Didn't this happen?" And then he's got that chance to like he thinks he's got a way out, so he thinks he's gonna take an easy job, and that so he's not. Like, it's wrong to call him pathetic or cowardly. It's not. But he's not. This is not a story about someone who rose to the occasion and was an American hero. It's a story about how, like, that doesn't really exist. Like, It's just dudes scared, alone, who don't know what's happening.
This was so much better than American Sniper, which is a very hoorah film about an American sniper.
Who, I mean, we all know what happened to him. Chris Kyle.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it didn't go well. Look up Chris Kyle. He was doing therapy with guns. Do you know that?
Yeah.
That they were saying, don't do that.
Yeah.
Not to... But anyway,
Veterans need help. America does not treat its veterans well.
Jarhead didn't treat me well. Because in the midst of this story... that I'm told is very accurate about nothing happening. Nothing happens.
Yeah, and they get deployed. He signs up. What's interesting about this film, and we talked about this afterwards, is this came out 2006-ish? Like this
somewhere
came out
in there, 03, 06, somewhere in the middle.
Right before or right around the Hurt Locker. So I was kind of ready for something like that, when the second Persian Gulf conflict, post 9/11 was starting up. This is about the first Persian Gulf conflict under Bush 1, Bush Sr. And it's incredible to me how history can repeat itself like that, where, I think they might have said a year at some point, and I just missed it.
At the very opening, when he goes into boot camp, it fades in 1989.
Okay, yeah, I missed that, but...
And then they may like call out a year occasionally, but yeah, they like said it.
It reads so much like every other contemporary war movie of the time. even though it is a quote period piece, technically taking place 20 years or 15 years before when it actually came out. And what is so fascinating to me about that is how cyclical the war can be, how not degrading, but how grating it can be on the psyche of those involved. Again, like, neither of us are vets. We went to school with a couple, but neither of us have any idea what goes on over there. But they get deployed to the Middle East. They're out in the desert and they're waiting for war to happen. They know it's going to happen, and the movie's just about waiting for it.
Cut to 2 hours later of my life.
War were declared.
But, and and maybe that's the side effect. Maybe that's the weakness is, like, on some level, like, you ever watch a movie and you go, like, why did they do that? And the answer is, well, because a movie needed to happen. With a movie like this, like, or like, why isn't it action-packed? Why isn't it like Black Hawk Down or something like that? Where it's like it's a movie. We're watching it for I'm in the theater for a reason. I'm this for a reason. Like, you want the gun battle. You want the whatever happens, whether or not it's realistic, accurate, or anything. At some point, you want something to blow up in your action movie. And it makes a very committed decision for none of that. You don't see any of it.
So this movie was directed by Sam Mendes, who would go on to do James Bond movies not too long after. This was 2000. If this was, because he also did Skyfall, which would have been 2012-ish. Yeah. And did he do the one before? Did he do Quantum of Solace?
You would know better than I would. I don't think he did, though. I think he did Skyfall. He did
two of them.
Yeah, and he goes on to do 1917.
Yeah, another war movie.
Yeah.
He likes war.
With a lot of explosions.
A movie where things happen.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen the trailer.
We should watch that.
Have you seen it?
No.
Okay. So we think Jarhead could be like 1917. Maybe, asterisk, let's watch it.
I think 1917 was edited to look like a oneer.
It has a really long, quote-unquote oneer. Like that has like huge oneer elements and then is edited together to look even longer.
Okay.
I think there's like 45 minutes of the movie that are supposed to look like one shot, but they do have extended real one shots in there.
Okay. We'll have to watch it and find out.
Yeah. Or not.
What, thinking about a oneer, you're like, I'm tired.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, I hate oneers and they piss me off.
I love oneers.
Every time I've ever talked with anyone about what am I going to do for camera movies, at some point when we're planning a shot, they go, what if we do a oneer for this?
You don't always need a oneer.
Tell that to everyone else I know.
Oneers are only necessary if you want unbroken tension. If you want this consistent feeling throughout multiple set pieces where you're having to move the camera through,
or if you want to stun on some fools,
I guess.
Like,
but
just like
I mean, on like an emotional level, what carries a oneer?
Yeah, I was just oneers to me are only impressive if there is intense timing throughout it.
Like, only this could happen.
Like 6 things go off. We've got shit timed. We've got people entering and leaving frame. If we just like put a camera on someone and don't cut for a while, to me it looks just like lazy editing. And I'm not saying 1917 is that.
Because you wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know. I'm just saying sometimes when people be like, oh my God, it's a oneer. I'm like, yeah, but we walked through a room for a while. Okay. Which I guess does speak to your tension thing.
Yeah. But so Jarhead doesn't have a lot going on intentionally. And where we end up after an hour and a half of nothing, when war is declared, the whole movie has this very like muted tan on tan, bright white skies.
Like the lights all blown out intentionally to make you feel like you're in purgatory, I think.
Yeah. When war were declared, I'm gonna keep saying it like that general on Futurama. When war were declared, we get sudden shifts to mostly night scenes, and when they actually move out to start patrolling, they because we all know the real reason America got involved in that conflict was to protect oil interests. We don't care who's actually in charge of those countries. We just care about the deals America has with them.
I mean, they even say as much in the movie when they land and they're ready, like they're fresh recruits and they're like, let's go. We're happy to do war. Like, this is what we trained for. Jamie Foxx is like, war hasn't even officially started.
Yeah.
Our current job is defending oil fields.
Yeah. But they light those oil fields on fire.
At the end, or like the last third act.
Yeah, so when war were declared, it's a lot of night scenes with these just columns of fire in the distance. And it's such a great visual with, because there's that Lord of the Rings thing of, it's like, where's the lighting coming from? Same place as the music.
Yeah.
To have motivated lighting like that for a night scene that still looks really good. Mm-hmm. That really clicked for me. But again, half an hour of a 2-hour-long movie that clicks for me.
Oh, it's long. It's like 2 hours, 20 minutes.
Okay, 20 minutes of it, 20 minutes clicked for me. 2 hours did not.
Yeah.
But we build to this point where, as a sniper, as a field sniper, him and his spotter are just waiting for a mission because they have a very specific job of, you have one target. Go, instead of dropping into big fields for battle or something, it's you have one person you need to go take out. And
once that we get to the night scenes, and we're skipping over a lot of the movie because nothing is happening and they're making that decision, and it is just about everyone in that camp going insane, and to the point where they literally say at one point, Jake Gyllenhaal's got monologues throughout the movie, and he says, "We are together, but we are insane," or something like that. And as they're descending through this, and they're just going nuts, doing nothing, and sort of boredom drives them mad, when the night hits and the fire starts, and at one point, because they're the oil fields, it's like raining oil. It's so clearly a descent into hell, is the idea. From purgatory now to hell.
Yeah.
And it's the payoff to the insanity as well, because he's in this after 2 hours or an hour and a half or however long of just not understanding his situation, having nothing to do. Everything's either boring or nonsensical. You are now staring at an impossible, like, I have never seen flames in the sky and it's raining oil. Like, the world is inverted. It's the payoff to, like, the insanity has now escaped his mind and is in front of him, but at the same time, it's something happening, and that's literally all they want. It's a thing. They're just like, I'm doing something. And so despite me saying, like, oh my God, I'm bored during the movie, which, again, I kind of was, I don't think the payoff makes as much sense if you aren't bored during the movie.
Yeah, it's very much, it's that intent. The payoff, the payoff just doesn't work if anything were to happen.
Yeah.
But the question becomes, is that 20 minutes of good payoff, that descent into hell, worth your 2 hours of boredom? It's not worth it to me.
I don't know. I think it would go person to person. Because like I said, when this came out, it seemed like a bunch of people, like, historically the reviews are, it's like such an accurate depiction for them, or it's so, it speaks to something that we haven't experienced.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can say what I have experienced or understand is it is a movie about choosing a destiny, is how I described it, and not fulfilling it. And how that's fucking terrifying. Mm-hmm. Because early on, he gets picked to be a good sniper. He's just good at sniping. And it's all he wants is that quote-unquote red mist. He wants to blow someone's head off. Because that's what he's trained to do. It's driven into him. He just wants to succeed at the thing he committed 4 years of his life to doing. Mm-hmm. And when he finally gets to snipe it, they call off the sniping because the drones or the airstrike has made it in time. And so they're just going to bomb the building the guy he was going to snipe in, or the guy his target was in. And you don't even see the explosion. You see the explosion in the reflection of the window as he looks through it.
Yup.
But like that's another that commitment to the movie of just sort of like blue balling you intentionally, where it's like, no, fucking nothing happens. You did 4 years, you don't shoot anybody. The cool thing, quote unquote cool, the action movie, like they're living an action movie. 99% of you go home. And the people living the action movie are also just like insane. Like
Yeah. That is a commitment I really like from the movie to and again, it's based on the real life experience of the guy. And Jake Gyllenhaal, one of his final, they trudge all the way back to camp after they were crawling for like a day and a half to get to this encampment up this tower, and their job is done for them. The local outpost of the enemy has been destroyed, so they just walk home, and they walk up over, this is like the final bit of the war, they walk up over the horizon line and they see helmets on rifles stuck into the ground, and they're like, something's going on. And so when they crest this dune, it's like a big bonfire party. The war is over. And Jake Gyllenhaal's final monologue is just, and that was my war. 4 years of fuck all, 3 days of something with no payoff.
Yeah. And then we do like you had mentioned earlier, this quick little, like, that guy has a family now. This guy got divorced. This guy, one person who's no longer in the Marines has no purpose. So it's very clearly he killed himself.
Yeah.
And then Jake Gyllenhaal's final monologue, like final end of that monologue, is just talking about how he's like, no matter what I do for the rest of my life, I'm that.
Yeah, the movie opens and closes with this same monologue of when you're trained to use a gun. Like the sniper never forgets the gun. You could be holding your newborn child. You could be holding hands with a loved one. You could be doing, washing dishes in a diner. You could be bagging groceries. You could, and they were going through this thing of what everybody was doing post-war. And yeah, some of them did go on to, be really successful in the private sector. Some of them were stocking shelves at a CVS. And he was saying, your hands never forget that. And the best edit in the film is the final one. When he's looking out the window in his backyard.
But he's seeing...
He lives in Texas or some like Midwest to Southern, those big prairie fields with, sparse grass and stuff. He's looking out the window, and as the camera goes over one shoulder to the other one, the window edits to him and the boys back out in the desert, trudging through the desert. And he said, I'm still there.
Yeah.
And that's something I feel like a lot of movies try to get to, that, they don't really come home. Like a lot of like post-Vietnam movies were like that, where he never really came home. Rambo didn't come home after.
And so that's why it's hard. Like I said, you're not gonna watch it again. I'll never watch it again. I didn't love my time watching it, but I respected the like commitment.
Yeah.
And I respect how honest he feel. Like, I haven't read the book that he wrote, but if this is based on it, you've got to be pretty willing to be pretty open. Like some of this stuff, like with the hazing and the going nuts and doing wrong and all that stuff, and how everyone is like losing their mind. You got to be willing to share that. That takes some guts.
Yeah.
You know who's got an excess of guts?
Who's got an excess?
Steven Seagal, that fat piece of shit. We were talking about a lot of serious stuff, and I didn't want to like shit on it because I was like, oh, like I'm sort of moved by his openness and his honesty in the movie, right? You know who's not open? That fat piece of shit, Steven Seagal. He was just in Russia.
Doing what?
Well, he lives there. And it was at Putin's inauguration again, because he just won another election fair and square. And
air quotes don't translate to audio.
But after Putin put his, claws back on that Iceland, Steven Seagal was there and all this fatness. and he's wearing a kimono, and he's got even more hair plugs in, and I legitimately thought he was wearing like one of those old surf caps that they put peasants in. And I was like, what is he doing there? And there's like Russian oligarchs, like the people, like drowning people and making sure people are vanishing in the night. Just like the old guard, like shaking hands with him. And he's like half bowing to them, doing the like, because he thinks he's like a martial arts Chinese master.
I've never seen a white man appropriate so much. Why doesn't he live in England? They'd love him there.
Because Russia funds his movies.
Is he still making movies?
He still makes movies. Like, I don't know how, like, literally this year or anything. I don't know if he's made anything post-COVID, but, like, he was making movies into the late 2010s.
That is a crime punishable by death.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the only thing that's really punishable by death in Russia is free speech.
Who do you think's going to die first, Putin or Seagal?
So it depends. Because Putin's got those weird sicknesses and stuff where he's always like trembling. Mm-hmm. But Seagal is just gorging himself. So if they can keep him out of the buffet, he'll beat Putin. If he figures out how to open up that child lock, then he's just going to eat until he's dead. He's gonna open his mouth like an evil Kirby and just start inhaling Russian pastries. They're gonna roll him out of there, and his skin's gonna be hardened into frosting.
I'm imagining Kirby with that greasy ponytail and that like squared off goatee that he has now,
doing a fake Italian accent
with the like knockoff Ray-Bans.
Oh my god, it's really funny to make a knockoff action movie and your character wears knockoff shit. We are, of course, talking about our second movie today,
Out for Justice,
which is much easier to talk about because I don't have to tiptoe around like veterans
geopolitical issues.
Yeah, exactly. As I rant about Putin. Hope he doesn't hear this. He's coming for me.
Vladdy, if you're hearing this, I didn't mean it.
I did. I'm trying to do some Kendrick Drake stuff, Vladdy. Drop that track.
You're trying to start shit between you and Vladimir Putin, hoping to get a diss track out of him?
Yeah, absolutely.
You won't even understand it. You're Polish.
It's okay. It's about feeling the vibes. Like, oh, I bet he meant that shit.
Yeah?
Yeah. So Out for Justice is about Steven Seagal hasn't yet started pretending he's Chinese or Russian and is currently pretending he's Italian in the year of our Lord 1991. And like you said, this feels like an 80s movie because it's early enough in the 90s. Yeah, it hasn't fully.
Some of that residual, like this might have been filmed in 89, so.
Maybe. If it took 2 years to edit Out for Justice.
Probably took 2 years to get clearance on, hey, we took all these nude photos of you.
Oh, okay. Or just like had to keep doing like, Seagal, we got to do another take. Your guts hanging out.
Your girdle broke.
Can you take off the fucking Special Forces beret, Seagal? That is so clearly. So this movie is like every Seagal movie. He's a cop, or in this one, he's a super special cop who doesn't wear a uniform.
They keep playing up. It's like, oh, he's a bad cop. He's a dirty cop. He doesn't play by the rules.
He's not a dirty cop though. He was raised by mobsters. Like he knows every mobster. He's like he's like the guy who like gets how the street works.
Yeah.
But he's not like, he doesn't work for the mob because there's other dirty cops.
Yeah, well, that's what was confusing to me is, he's like, he's willing to beat the shit out of civilians and go into a bar and just wreck the place up because he heard that one guy who works there, his brother, might be dealing drugs.
Yeah.
Which is such a tenuous connection, and he beats the shit out of everybody in that bar. I'm like, this is possibly a crime and an abuse of power.
Yeah.
And the second he hears that there was like another dirty cop, he's like, there can only be one. I'm gonna spill this guy's shit. I'm just gonna make public for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna know about it.
And the movie is about basically a cop gets killed and it's Seagal's partner. And so he's going to go get revenge. And immediately he's given a blank check by the police force. They just hand him a shotgun literally at the crime scene. He's wearing a cut-off cardigan vest with a deep V and no shirt underneath. So you're seeing just his like whole sternum area and everything.
No sleeves.
No sleeves. You're seeing pit hair. Like just this unshaved, fat, fake Italian, greased up with a shoddy, about to go take out the fucking mob, I guess. And for some reason, if this uniform didn't make enough sense, because it opens with a quick action scene where he beats up a pimp, and he's just kind of in a hoodie, but you think he's undercover. If this cardigan outfit didn't make sense, he gets out of the car with like a special forces beret. But like the ones they're always wearing in like photos where they're in full uniform.
Yeah, but he's just wearing that.
But he's just a cop in the field. What's the beret for? And it has to be he just wouldn't take it off. Like, this was his costume choices. Because
he showed up to set, that's what he was wearing.
Yeah. And he's wearing it in the beginning, and he wears it at the end, and he wears it in no other scenes, and it has to be he thought it was cool. Because I don't know.
It's incredible to me how much, well, because he's listed as a producer. These are very much vanity projects for Steven Seagal. And we joked multiple times that sometimes it's like, that's just his apartment. Because off in the corner, you'd see like a couple of katanas just like laid out.
I don't even know if it's a joke. Because like...
You think he's for real?
Like filming in his apartment.
Oh, you think that's actually...
There's just like, why? Because it's not focusing on them. He doesn't use katanas. There's no like Japanese, Chinese mysticism mixed in, any of that.
What about sticks?
We'll get to him, but also I'm pretty sure he was like Vietnamese.
Oh, you can tell them apart?
I can. I'm not racist.
You're Laotian, ain't you, Mr. Can?
I'm not that type of racist. So anyway, but like it'll be out of frame. It'll just be like half in the frame. So it's not like set deck because it's not all over. It's not in shots. It's not like
it's always like half in frame. Like I remember pointing it out like, look, scrolls on the wall.
Yeah, and I was like, why are there katanas? And you're like, oh yeah, like
there was one on his partner that gets shot. There was a tiny katana on his partner's desk.
Was there?
Yeah, it was vertical. So it might have just like blended in with the lamp, but it was about this big for people unable to see. This is about 8 inches, 8 to 10 inches.
That changes my perspective because now I wonder if it is set deck.
And just the entire Brooklyn police force is trained in katanas.
Well, because if he's a producer, he wants cool katanas. He's like I can see me like, hey, it'd probably be pretty cool if there was just like some Chinese scribbles here. You know, that says great power comes great responsibility.
Dumb white man. I would love if he's got a big scroll in his Russian mansion that just says dumb white man.
Exactly.
And he just tells all of his Russian friends, it means great power.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know this means discipline? And it just means fat.
It says live honorably, live bountifully, kill yourself.
Oh, he's living bountifully. No honor in there, but he's bountiful.
Oh, man.
He's not even that fat in this movie, but it was crazy to me that this is really early in his career. Yeah. And he does one, I forget what his name is, but he does like, it might be like Under Siege or something.
I know Under Siege was a big one. My dad loves that movie.
And it's kind of what brings him onto the scene.
Yeah.
And he's got a little bit of a receding hairline, but he's in shape. And then like the next movie, he's got that fucking filled in. He's got some plugs and stuff like that or whatever. But he's also just bloating so quickly. And like he's got no personal trainer and he immediately thinks he's hot shit.
Yeah, I pointed out every time there was an action scene, he just stands there, does as little as possible, and whenever a bad guy rushes him, he just kind of flips him. All the work is done by the other stuntmen. He doesn't do any actual stunt work in this movie.
Yeah.
And he never really does. I mean, he didn't have to. He made big money on Under Siege. And
he made middling money.
He made more money than you.
Yeah, okay. But that's not a high bar.
I'm just saying, he was able to finance other movies.
People with more money than me aren't rich. They're just less poor. Okay. If I'm under a sleeping bag, a guy with a tent isn't rich.
Look,
he's lucky.
There are many spectrums in this world.
And brother, you're on most of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say wage is a spectrum.
Oh, okay. So Steven Fat Seagal.
That's not even like, I know you're trying to be like, man, I hate this guy, but like just being weightist about it isn't.
How is it weightist?
You're calling him fat.
He's got a gut in a movie where he's supposed to be the best fighter of all time. I can point that out. That a dude who's like, every scene in every movie, he walks in and everyone goes, oh my God, that's him. Do not fight him. He even says like, oh, this dude's a boxer. He outboxes him. He does fake martial arts. He's supposed to be a physical specimen, and he in his brain thinks that. I can point out that Steven Seagal, there are plenty of people who are working really hard to be martial artists
who are not Steven Seagal.
That's kind of what I'm trying to go at here.
So what you're saying is this could have starred any other well-known straight-to-DVD action hero from the 90s.
Such as Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I didn't want to say it.
That's okay. That's why you keep me around, Buster.
So what happens in this movie is a whole lot of nothing. Unfortunately, it's more interesting, I guess, visually to watch than Jarhead, because the point of Jarhead was that it was the tan on tans and the blown out lights, and it was meant to be a repetitive visual. But at least this, we have interior and exteriors. The bar has like red lights going on.
I served my country for 4 years in the Marines, and it drove me insane. That's really boring to hear about, sir, but did you know that in Brooklyn there's an Italian war?
Fought by non-Italians.
That's the other. Okay, fine. I won't make fun of Steven Seagal's movie. I'll make fun of his horrible accent. As he, like, how do you have the balls or the gall to like hire exclusively real Italians speaking Italian, and your character is, I'm the coolest Italian to ever live, and you're not even.
I'm gonna do that if I ever go to Brooklyn.
Are you?
I'm gonna pretend to be the greatest Italian ever with my ginger hair.
You're gonna do like brush up on your Italian just for those scenes and just butcher the pronunciation.
I'm gonna hold my hands like this exclusively, and they're gonna love me, and I'm gonna end up in a ditch.
You just keep going, hey, pizza pasta.
5 guns immediately.
Why do the Italians have guns?
To protect themselves.
From?
Ne'er-do-wells.
You called me an ist on this podcast, so now you're not safe. Is that a Steven Seagal karate move?
You can't see it, but I'm doing the Steven Seagal, like how easy it is just to flip the enemy.
Steven Seagal, it has to be some Bruce Lee be like water shit he thinks he's doing in his head, because every action scene is he stands in the center of the room and people run at him and
ass out. Part of his stance is ass out,
fists in opposite directions like he's gonna helicopter,
head on a swivel like a rooster defending his turf,
and then just he flips everyone who runs at him.
We haven't even talked about the guy who killed his partner, Richie Crackpipe.
Hey, why do they call him Richie Crackpipe? Oh, it's because he's always smoking crack from a pipe.
He is, though.
I know.
When he's not smoking that tiny crack pipe. No, I guess it is more of an opium pipe.
It looks like, again, to bring up weird, like, pseudo-Asian mysticism stuff, that they're just old opium dens. Like, from, like, the early 1900s, had those long pipes that are all, like, Chinese-looking. And he's got a tiny one. It's like 4 inches long.
Yeah,
but he smokes it like a crack pipe.
Yeah. I'm going to assume it's a crack pipe. I don't think he's doing opium.
Well, he's not nodding off in the cars. He doesn't smoke it and then just fall asleep.
No, actually, I think crack would probably lead to explaining his demented behavior of just shooting a woman.
Yeah, and then later they're like, he's shooting stuff up his nose, which would be cocaine, but he's not. He's smoking crack.
There's a point where they're trying to drive away from Steven Seagal. It's a car full of dudes, all armed, all in better physical condition than Steven Seagal, and they're afraid of him. They're all driving away from him. And one guy's just like, I don't know, boss, this seems like a bad idea. And so Richie Crackpipe points the gun at, this is the getaway driver, points the gun at him. He's just like, I'll fucking kill you after I kill him. And then like leans out the window with this gun. And I'm thinking, why would you shoot your getaway driver?
Yeah, well, they're in motion. Then they stop and a woman says, move your car. And he walks up to this woman after he goes, yo, we got to lay low and I got to smoke all this crack. He puts a gun to her head and blows her brains out. And then they just ditch their car. They're like, I guess we're walking.
It's incredible, the dissonance in this movie between scenes, because so much of it feels like setup. You mentioned this, where there's so many scenes of them walking around like, someday in the near to distant future, we're going to have a conversation. Yeah. Okay, what is this then?
Yeah, it's interesting that you filmed stuff in between and then the movie at one point, after we said we're gonna have a conversation, we get a
montage
of just Steven Seagal. It's supposed to be like him trying to figure out where Richie Crackpipe is, and because the mob's looking for Richie, the cops are looking for Richie, and then Steven Seagal is cop adjacent and mob adjacent, so he's gonna find Richie for the cops, but he's gonna kill him like the mob wants. We just see a montage of them talking to people, but we don't hear what they're saying. But it's supposed to be like, oh, they're like working the angles. They all know people. Steven Seagal knows the most people.
Was this wasn't the montage where they were playing Beastie Boys, was it?
No, that's just a montage that happens when the movie is like, all right, we've been going on for about 15 minutes.
We want you to know where this movie takes place. We've said Brooklyn 5 times, and we're going to play No Sleep Till Brooklyn. So you know this isn't Brooklyn.
You know, I don't know how much the Beastie Boys royalties would have cost in the 90s and early 90s.
That would have been around.
That's kind of their heyday.
Yeah, it's like peak Beastie Boys. Then they came back in like 2000 after Futurama had them do a reunion song.
I like me some Beastie Boys. They must have shelled out the budget there. Although they had some squibs and stuff. But so much of the movie is just talking, and then it's just a montage of people talking, but now we don't even get to hear what they're saying, so it's even easier to zone out.
It had to have been cut for time. Like, it isn't even like quick. It isn't even a quick montage of like, oh, we're seeing mob stuff, passing off money, or a shootout, or real quick getting information. Like, there's a part of the montage that's just reversals of Steven Seagal sitting in a car talking to his friend Frankie
from the mob. Yeah, they're doing like a Grey Poupon meetup where there's like 2 cars pull up now.
Yeah, the fucking mob man Frankie. They're sitting there talking in a car. They're full on reversals. You can see they're having a full conversation. It had to have been cut for time.
Because you wouldn't shoot a montage like that.
Yeah.
But what I don't get then is, why the fuck did we see... Why are we leaving in conversations about conversations and then cutting the actual conversations? Why not just have those in there and then cut the conversations about having a conversation, and then you've... The movie's 91 minutes.
It is.
It wasn't like really pushing like, oh my god, this movie's going too long or anything like that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure this was direct to DVD. This didn't go to theater in 91?
There's no way.
It had, well, I guess 91 straight to VHS.
Straight to the fucking dumpster.
Well, no, because even then, back in 91, the VHS market was still like, you're paying $60 to $70 for one VHS. Rentals didn't really come around until the mid-90s, though.
How do you know this? You weren't alive?
I just know film history.
That's crazy. Rentals came around in the mid 90s.
Yeah, that's why like in the early 2000s, late 90s to early 2000s, Disney really started to push a lot of direct to DVD sequels, because when DVDs started rolling out, they could be made en masse cheaper. So they started cranking out DVDs for a bunch of shitty direct-to-DVD sequels for the rental market. Like 2000 to 2004 was like heyday blockbuster Hollywood video.
Yeah, the good old days.
Good old days.
I miss me some Hollywood video.
Yeah, we had a Hollywood video in my small ass home. There was a Game Crazy attached to.
Me too.
Oh my god.
I used to take a DS and go to that Game Crazy, because that's where you had to go to download demos of games.
Yeah, they had the kiosks.
I just remember waiting at the counter and they would let me download demos of games. The games I couldn't get or play.
Yeah.
Too expensive. But that conversation we just had now is why I have a soft spot for things like, what is this fucking movie called?
Out for Justice.
I love it dearly. No, Out for Justice is going to a movie theater or a movie rental place, like a Hollywood Video or Blockbuster, grabbing a movie like this and just watching it at home to find out what it was. It wasn't internet reviews. It wasn't streaming. It wasn't like the choices weren't endless. It was like, I'm in the action section. Maybe I liked Steven Seagal's Under Siege, or maybe I'm a big fan of hair plugs. I'm gonna watch.
That's what it is. And that's what we lose with endless streamers, with 30 streaming services, all of them with endless content. You lose that, like, all right, what is left?
Yeah.
It's 8 p.m. on a Friday. They close in half an hour. People have already come in. I remember so vividly, my Hollywood Video was right next to I think also a discontinued chain, a Godfather's Pizza. If you remember that chain.
I don't know it.
It was like it was one of those things, like you could either sit down at the restaurant and it was like all you could eat pizza, or takeout or take home, like takeaway pizza. I remember so vividly, it would be like
Takeaway.
Yeah, you take it home.
Isn't that like Brit? Are you from the UK? I've never heard anyone say takeaway.
I've been outed.
Except for like British people in shows. Like, all right, let's get some takeaway. Maybe this will fix our teeth. Let's get some takeaway,
It's
bro.
rocks. Maybe this will fix your teeth.
Let's get some takeaway, bruv. Ricky Gervais is here to rant about trans people.
God, fuck Ricky Gervais. Yeah, no,
The
yes, it
Queen's
is.
dead.
Yes,
Did you hear about that?
Takeaway is a British term.
The King's got prostate cancer.
And fat hands.
He does have fat hands.
I can't get that ring off.
They'd look normal on Steven Seagal.
It looks like blood can get there but can't leave.
I'm storing all my blood in my hands. It's like those lizards that spit. If you try to assassinate the king, he claps, and it's just like a ketchup packet burst.
The hell are we talking? Oh yeah. No, I just remember so vividly Hollywood Video. Be like, okay, pick out some movies. We'll get pizza. It was. I wish I was 6 again.
Me too. I think that all the time.
I think that's what this movie is like. I like being an adult.
I don't.
Really?
You're unemployed, so you enjoy it. I have to go to work.
Well, I just mean like there are liberties. Like I couldn't drive when I was 6.
I don't care. That means I have less responsibility. I'll lose it all. There's not a single thing being an adult is better for. Just hang out in the street all day. I would just lay in ditches. It was awesome. It's a beautiful day. It's been the first day. It's been like the first weekend. It's been like 80 degrees, right?
Yeah.
Yesterday I was at work. Today I'm here with you, and I had to drive here.
Yesterday I was in a theater for
9 hours.
9 hours.
I would do that.
You can't do that when you're 6.
You can't?
No.
Why not?
Because I saw 3 R-rated movies back to back.
Can't parents swipe you in? My parents never would. I found one reason to be an adult.
To watch R-rated.
Out for Justice. There's boobs and blood in this movie.
And they say fuck a couple times. Not Steven Seagal, though. He won't say it. This is no place for He said it all the time. Like, this is no place for profanity.
It's another weird twist where he's like got to be better than everyone. He's got to be more morally correct.
He has a line in the movie where he's just like he's talking to his friend. Like it was like 2 friends who grew up together, split off. One became a cop, one joined the mob, and he was just like, Frankie, I never thought I was better than you because I never was. And he's just like, it's framed. He's like lording over this guy. He's just like, but I'm a cop, so I am better than you.
Yeah,
and you're a filthy mobster.
Frankie, I'm the perfect man. The only thing that holds me back is the belt buckle.
And if anything, I'm starting to look like Marlon Brando. I look like a horrendous creature.
He thinks he's Brando, too.
He's becoming Brando.
I mean...
miserable.
Physically, maybe.
No, you know what? Brando was in so many good movies when he was young. I think he is allowed to live the luxury.
Okay. What's the quota? How many good movies before you can just deflate?
It depends on the level of good. Because if Brando just did Streetcar Named Desire and then let it all go, that's not worth it.
Okay.
Get up to Godfather Part 1. And then...
So what's your opinion on the Waterfront?
Haven't seen it.
Okay. It was a trap.
Oh, okay.
So never mind. You successfully avoided it. Your ignorance has saved you once again, white boy.
I'm going to go walk into the street.
What do you... Out for Justice, the only other thing I can think of is there's another couple weird monologues where, like you were talking about...
It ends on a movie set.
Steven Seagal has to talk down to people.
Yeah.
Tell them all about what he's learned about the world.
He's the tallest guy on set, except for that guy that we definitely thought was like a taxidermied Italian standing.
That's another fat guy to talk about. The villain in this movie is also chubby, and he's got a weird sort of pseudo bowl cut where he looks like the villain from Johnny Test grew up.
Bling Bling Boy. He does kind of. How do you know Bling Bling Boy? What the fuck?
So anyway,
no wait.
Is that his name? Bling Bling Boy?
Yes.
Okay.
The bowl cut.
I would see Johnny Test occasionally at like friends' houses and
okay. Stuff. I thought he looked like Mr. House. He looked like Mr. House from New Vegas.
Chip. He does. He looks like a fat Mr. House.
Yeah, no, but the Crackpipe, I think, was the real defining trait. Not his bad hair, his bad mustache.
No,
not
bad
his
attitude.
Not his penchant for touching women.
Weird body, odd wardrobe. Looks kind of like he's wearing long johns, but with suspenders.
Likes killing people. Like, all these are turnoffs, but really...
A villain who just hits the crackpipe occasionally and then runs away. He killed, like, one guy, too. And the one guy he killed... we find out was a dirty cop who killed a woman himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so like Steven Seagal gets revenge, but he's also like disgusted by the memory of his partner. So he just goes kills a crack addict for no real reason. He's like, that was for Bobby who killed an innocent woman.
Yeah, this movie tries to be like, oh, he's one of the good cops. You know, he's not gonna like all these women who are clearly prostitutes. He's like, get out of here, get out of here. Like, you know, he's not like trying to be the cop to be like, you're under arrest for consenting to sex.
What a nerd cop.
I fucking look.
Oh, you're talking about arresting prostitutes. I thought you were talking about arresting like just people who are killing people.
No. Sex work is real work.
You know what's not real work?
Smoking crack and killing people.
Steven Seagal stunts.
Steven Seagal.
Those stuntmen are working overtime.
It's incredible. See, it's one of those things where, on paper, when you have a cheap action star who's willing to do all of his own stunts, it's like, oh, cool, I don't have to hire a stunt guy. You know, he's cheap. And then you watch him work with the heaviest air quotes on work.
Air quotes weren't the only thing heavy on set that day.
You wanted to talk about the taxidermied Italian.
He's so fat. He's like 6'6", and he's the width of a boat. And all he does is breathe heavily in the background. And every angle camera is low angle, and he's just the widest, fattest Italian. And it's wonderful. Listen, here's the thing. I said fat a lot, but I mean no disrespect to this man, because there's nothing stronger than a super tall fat guy. They can't lose fights. Have you ever seen videos of people? It'll be 19 dudes rushing just a 6'3", 350, and he doesn't go. They'll tear clothes off the dude, and he won't stumble. He's like a goddamn, a sequoia.
The mighty redwood.
Exactly. Like Ewoks live on this dude. He's the star of the show.
He has one line in the movie.
I don't even remember what it was. I was transfixed.
I was transfixed on his eyes because through the whole movie, again, yeah, it's low shots up to this guy, and there'll be like a conversation happening, and then behind, again, it's a low shot up to him, so he's towering over these two guys in front of him.
Just breathing heavy.
Yeah, but he's like looking around. His hands are a little like he's kind of playing, like picking with his fingernails and stuff. Like you can tell he's off in his own world. He's not acting. He's just there.
Yeah, he's thinking about craft services.
And then his one line in the movie, like he's looking up at a guy on the stairs, and he's basically, I think the line is just like, he got them all, like Richie Crackpipe, they got him. I don't know what we're gonna do. He's got like the most honest puppy dog eyes when he delivers those lines. This is a guy that cares.
Yeah. Cares about rotisserie chicken.
Are you done?
We'll see. That's the thing. I don't plan these. They come from my soul.
So the movie ends on a movie set. That's the only way I could really justify whatever the hell we were looking at.
It is. It's like it's supposed to be the inside, because we see the outside of her house.
Yeah, we see the exterior of her like condo duplex,
weirdly suburban house. She's like, basically, they even call her, they're like an old trick or something. So she's supposed to be like an ex-prostitute.
Yeah, who like went straight. She's like teaching this girl like English and stuff. It looks like she's doing,
but she's not supposed to be well off. So it's weird that she's in like a suburban environment.
No, it's
looks kind of like the house from the original Halloween.
You know? But it's so. At first, I thought what it was, oh, he's like moving around the outside. I see what they're doing here.
I thought he was coming in through like an unfinished back room or like some sort of like thing.
Because the wall, the wall that has the villains on the inside, like the other side of that wall that Steven Seagal is moving across, is like open. You can see support beams. You can see. It's got the. It's
like an unfinished room. It's like like plywood or like, you know.
It's got the insulation visible and stuff, and it's like, okay, yeah, it kind of looks unfinished, but then like the ceiling is made out of brick. The wall opposite this wall like is made out of brick, and then like unfinished like cement or concrete floor, and it's like, what the hell am I looking at? And then at one point he's like peeking through this window. It's a hole in the wall, but the room itself is elevated up to where like somebody's ankle is basically at his chest.
Yeah.
And it has these like pink little banister type like support rods, and I'm thinking this had like, it clicked for me. It's like, this is a movie set. This is meant to be looking through a crib.
Yeah.
On some kind of movie, but they're just showing us everything, much like Seagal showing his hairy pits at the crime scene. We're just seeing it.
And it's so weird and cheap for an ending, and it's just on a film set, and it's like, because otherwise this house has windows to brick walls.
Yeah, because I'm like, this window's looking out to nothing.
Yeah.
Unless that's meant to be another building, but then that's brick wall, brick ceiling.
Yeah, and he came in through a door to get here.
Yeah, unfinished wall. What am I looking at?
You're looking at Steven Seagal fight a crackhead.
And put a corkscrew in his head. Frankie shows up, his mob friend. He pulls Frankie's gun, unloads about 4 good rounds into the dead guy's chest, and he's just like, What did he say to Frank? Because he said for like, that one's for Bobby,
who killed an innocent woman
and had crack and cocaine and money and pictures of him fucking this woman.
Bobby, the ex-cop, smoked crack and banged hookers while having a wife and a daughter at home.
Steven brought the photos to his wife and was just like, "Did you know your man was banging this woman? Do you know this dead prostitute?" No, he doesn't even say that. That's what I wanted to bring up. This movie tries to be so holier than thou with his character. He goes around, specifically like Danny DeVito, calling them hooers.
Yeah.
We stopped for a second and was like, I've only ever heard Danny DeVito say that, but he's saying it unironically.
The only thing holier than thou for Steven Seagal is
the holes in Frankie Crackpipe.
I was gonna say donut holier.
Richie Crackpipe.
Yeah. Cracky versus Fatty. Who wins?
We just saw.
Yeah.
Which one did you like more, Jarhead or Out for Justice?
Out for Justice.
Would you watch it again?
No. I'm not going to remember either of these movies, and I won't watch them again. Jarhead spoke probably deeply to some people's like struggles or memories of the military. Out for Justice spoke deeply to memories of Brooklyn.
And Putin.
Oh, yeah.
Putin loves him.
I mean, keeps him well fed. Cut the feed.